Mendenhall, and I live in Columbia, Missouri, and I graduated from Shortridge High School in Indianapolis, Indiana, and then came over to the University of Missouri, where I graduated in 1941. I have a degree in journalism, and then went on through business school after that. Had several job offers, but took one immediately in Washington, D.C. in personnel, the office of Major General H.K. Lowry, Chief of Finance of the Army. And from there, well, the day, I wasn't flag waving or anything, but the day after Pearl Harbor, I volunteered for the aviation cadets, although I didn't actually get into aviation cadets until about a year later, and then went on and graduated, and I was a bombardier navigator. And my last field before leaving for overseas was Barksdale Field, Louisiana. As a bombardier navigator, my pilot was Bill Eastwood, and during the course of the war, I arrived over there in, I believe, March 13th of 1944, and flew 65 combat missions, which was the tour of duty for our squadron. In fact, it changed. I was informed on the way over to Europe, changed from 50 to 65 missions for the medium bombers, and from 35 to 50, I believe, for the heavy bombers, as far as the tour of duty missions. I had 3 or 4 incidents that affected my experience in the Army Air Corps and in the B-26 operations and all there that might prove a little interesting. One was when Lord Haw Haw, a renegade Britisher who spoke frequently, practically daily, over Radio Berlin, one day read my name over Radio Berlin, and he had my middle initial wrong, but he read my full name, and he gave my serial number, and most of all, he indicated where I was located at, so to speak, a secret air base in England, and mentioned our address, our location, very precisely at Earl's Cone, near the larger city of Colchester, England, and gave our air base and myself an ultimatum to leave. Gave us a 30-day notice that if we didn't leave and get out of there, that on the 30th day that they were going to come over and remove our base from the ground. It was very odd. We heard this every day. As I say, he repeated my name. Of course, immediately our security people questioned me and wondered how they could have gotten it and everything. At that time, I had become a squadron leader as far as a bombardier navigator, and was leading a number of missions over France and Germany. And each day he repeated the date from the first day, 30 days on, when they were going to come over and wipe us out if we didn't voluntarily leave. And it became very odd when we went into town for fish and chips or something nearby the little village of Earl's Cone and all. We'd go around kidding about it, and the guys would walk up to me, other airmen, and say, "Heil Hitler, 14 days to go. Heil Hitler, 12 days to go." And we'd go around and say, "Heil Hitler." And when it came to around the second or third day, we actually discovered that a number of the villagers in the nearby, outside our air base, were leaving that area and going to visit relatives and friends and all up around Cambridge and other parts of England there, and leaving the area actually thinking that something was going to take place. Of course, we had no idea what was going to take place, if anything, but came the fateful 30th day, and let us just say that nothing happened at all on that day, because it was a typical London pea soup fog night. Everything was socked in, and nothing was moving in the air that night. However, the following day, in the evening, the outer defense, first we saw a lot of searchlights down the countryside, and then finally we began hearing air raids of something moving through the air toward, up our direction of our air base. We heard them and then saw searchlights weaving back and forth, occasionally catching on to an object, a plane of some sort coming through the air up our direction. And then finally we saw some starburst shells go up, which indicated that no more firing apparently was to be done toward this plane coming through the air, because perhaps British Spitfires or British fighter planes were going up to try to intercept it. And then that interval ended, and our outer defenses of our air base, our guns began pounding, flak guns shooting up into the air, and a minute later, a plane came down right beyond our base, and two guys came out in parachutes, and it developed that they didn't know where our air base was. They'd just been sent over a mission north of London to bomb anything they could hit, and they floated down through the air, and their plane crashed a little farther on, and they were interviewed, and I got to sit in on the interpreted interview with them, but they were never bound for our base. It was unknown it existed until our outer defense planes began hitting up there and actually hit it. Injured one of the two when he came down, but there were around 50 or 60 airmen and MPs and all around each person as they hit the ground, and the war was over for them. Nothing ever happened further as far as the warnings and threats of Lord Haw Haw over Radio Berlin. We will never know to this day for sure how they got my name and serial number, and specifically repeated it daily over Radio Berlin, but I got quite a bit of notoriety, you might say, on that, and that was it. Might mention three other missions quite briefly. One of them was just kind of interesting and all. From the air, we were flying in toward a target in West Germany, but as we were proceeding along, it was winter time and there was heavy snow on the ground, and as we were going along, well before reaching our target area, I was using binoculars and just looking around on the ground and up in the air and just